Ma'am, please don't cry. We'll figure this out. I promise I won't let you be stranded here. 33-year-old Thatcher Hollis wiped his grease-stained hands on his coveralls as he knelt beside the elderly sedan, watching the woman behind the wheel struggle to hold back tears. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel, her face etched with the kind of exhaustion that came from carrying too much for too long. It was nearly closing time at his small roadside garage, and Thatcher had been looking forward to the quiet solitude of his empty apartment, but something about her desperation made leaving impossible. "I don't have money for repairs," 39-year-old Wren Ashford admitted, her voice breaking with shame. "My husband died 6 months ago, and I'm barely keeping our house. I was just trying to get to my nursing shift, and the car just died. I can't afford to miss work, but I can't afford to fix this either. I don't know what to do." Thatcher saw himself reflected in her panic, that trapped feeling when the universe demanded more than you could possibly give, when every small crisis threatened to topple the fragile stability you'd barely managed to build. He'd been there 3 years ago when the fire took everything: his parents, his wife, his home, his sense of safety in the world. He'd rebuild from nothing, alone, learning that sometimes all we have to offer each other is kindness when everything else has been stripped away.
"Let me take a look," Thatcher said gently. "No charge for the diagnostic. We'll see what we're dealing with before worrying about payment." What he found wasn't catastrophic: a failing alternator and some worn belts, maybe $300 in parts and labor at any shop. But for someone already drowning, $300 might as well be $3,000. Thatcher made a decision that would stretch his own thin finances, but felt necessary in a way he couldn't fully explain. "Mrs. Ashford, I'm going to fix this for you. No charge." Wren's eyes widened, fresh tears spilling. "I can't let you do that. That's not fair to you." "Life hasn't been fair to either of us," Thatcher interrupted softly. "But maybe we can be fair to each other. You need to get to work to keep your house. I can fix your car. Sometimes it's that simple." He worked late into the evening, replacing parts he'd salvaged from junked vehicles, using supplies he'd normally reserve for paying customers. When he finally handed Wren her keys, she gripped his hand with surprising strength. "Why?" she asked simply. "You don't know me. Why would you do this?" "Because 3 years ago, I lost everything in a house fire," Thatcher said quietly. "My parents, my wife, every possession I owned. And strangers helped me, gave me clothes, food, a place to stay until I could work again. I'm just paying forward what I received. Maybe someday you'll do the same for someone else." Wren drove away that night with a working car and restored faith that goodness still existed. But she couldn't stop thinking about the mechanic who'd given so much while clearly having so little himself. Over the following weeks, she quietly investigated, asking around the small town, learning more about Thatcher Hollis. What she discovered broke her heart. He lived in a one-room apartment above his garage, worked 7 days a week, sent most of his earnings to a memorial fund for fire victims, and spent his rare free time volunteering with the fire department that had tried to save his family. He was a man rebuilding his life through service, as if helping others could somehow balance the cosmic scales that had taken everything from him.
And then Wren made a connection that changed everything. While sorting through her late husband's papers, a task she'd been avoiding for months, she found old insurance documents from the fire investigation company he'd worked for. Her husband had been the lead investigator on a residential fire 3 years ago, the Hollis fire. With shaking hands, Wren read the report. The fire had been caused by faulty wiring installed by a negligent contractor. Her husband had documented everything, recommended the family sue, but then he'd gotten sick, and the case had fallen through the cracks. The contractor's insurance company had never been held accountable. The Hollis family had received nothing. Wren spent the next month working with a lawyer friend, building a case from her husband's meticulous documentation. The contractor's insurance company, faced with clear evidence of negligence, settled for $200,000, compensation the Hollis family should have received 3 years ago. When Wren appeared at Thatcher's garage with the legal documents, he went pale, literally staggering backward against his workbench. I don't understand," he whispered, staring at the settlement papers. "My husband investigated your fire," Wren explained, tears streaming. "He documented that it wasn't your fault, that you deserved compensation, but he got sick before finishing the case, and I didn't know. I found his files after you fixed my car, and I couldn't let this injustice continue. You lost everything, Thatcher. You deserved help then, and you deserve this now." Thatcher's eyes filled with tears he'd been holding back for 3 years. Your husband? He tried to help my family? He did. And you helped me when I was drowning. So maybe this is just the universe completing a circle. My husband's last case, helping the man who saved his widow from breaking completely. What neither of them initially shared, what emerged as they sat in Thatcher's small office, both crying openly, was how deeply isolated they'd each become. Wren had lost her husband and her sense of security. Thatcher had lost his entire family and his ability to trust that good things could last. They'd both been surviving rather than living, going through motions while feeling fundamentally alone. I didn't fix your car expecting anything, Thatcher said finally. I did it because it was right. I know, Wren replied. That's exactly why you deserve this. Because you gave without calculating returns, without knowing this connection existed. You just saw someone struggling and helped. That kind of goodness should be rewarded. The settlement changed Thatcher's life. He expanded his garage, hired assistants, created a program offering free car repairs to single parents and elderly residents. But more importantly, he and Wren became unexpected friends, two people who'd survived devastating loss, finding comfort in shared understanding and mutual respect. A year later, they stood together at the annual fire department memorial service, honoring those lost and those who responded. Thatcher placed flowers for his family. Wren placed them for her husband. You know what I've learned? Thatcher said quietly. That kindness isn't transactional. I helped you because you needed it. You helped me because I deserved justice. Neither of us knew these acts would circle back, but they did. And that's how it should work. We help each other not because we're tracking debts, but because we're all just trying to survive. And sometimes the kindness we give strangers turns out to be exactly what we needed too. Wren smiled through tears. Your car repair saved me from losing everything. My husband's documentation gave you back what you'd lost. We both gave what we could, when we could, to people who needed it. That's not coincidence. That's humanity working the way it's supposed to.
Because kindness creates connections we can't predict, builds bridges we don't know we're crossing, plants seeds that bloom in unexpected gardens. When we help without expecting return, when we give from our poverty rather than our abundance, when we see someone struggle and simply respond, we're participating in something larger than individual transactions. We're affirming that we're all connected, all worthy of dignity and care, all deserving of the compassion we show each other. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.